Yes. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome back to another edition of The Full View. It's Wednesday. It's 7 p.m. You know what that means. Plenty to discuss, plenty to get into in the world of Manchester United. A lot of positivity we're all feeling this evening, right? There's plenty to be positive about, surely? No? Only the Europa League coming tomorrow. Some interesting comments when it comes to Antony, and maybe some swipes from his agents about Ruben Amorim. We're also going to be talking about Ruben Amorim, talking in the press conference. I actually just wrapped up a few minutes ago over there in Spain ahead of tomorrow's game against Real Sociedad. Some interesting comments about the system, the formation, whether we need to win the Europa League or not. So there's plenty to get into today. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Big up to Bradley, big up to Furs, big up to Kenny, Marcel, Tabo should be on their way shortly as well. Let's talk, guys. Yeah, this is a safe space. I feel like I've been talking a lot about this recently. I go, this is a safe space, right? Totally a safe space. Let's begin with Antony. Right, Antony, he left in January, went out on loan to Real Betis. He's done well since he's gone there. Ruben Amorim was asked about Antony the other day as to maybe why he's doing so well at Betis, and he didn't do well at Manchester United. And he said it was about physicality. Well, Antony's agent came out today and said, we respect the opinion of coach Ruben Amorim, but we completely disagree with his analysis. To attribute Antony's lack of success at United solely to physicality is a very superficial argument and does not reflect reality. Bit of a swipe there by Antony's agent. Kenny, I'll start with you. What do you make of those comments? And also, what do you make of Antony's success in the Liga? Is it about physicality, i.e. a less physical league? Maybe you get a bit more space? Could he just not handle the pressure at Manchester United? What say you?
I think the weight of the badge was too much for him. I think he came with expectations that we all thought, wow, this kid's £70 million. He's tore it up in Eredivisie. He's part of a good Ajax team. Our expectation levels were probably too high. And that comes with the badge. It comes with the badge. And we'll see the same with Dorgu or whatever. Now, Dorgu, physicality-wise, looks as though he can handle the Premier League from what I've seen of him. But with Antony, it did seem very, very light. And when you look at over, we're playing Real Sociedad tomorrow night, and they're more of a technical team. You're not going to get that physicality from Real Sociedad as we got probably against Fulham or Wolves, or certainly not against an Everton. So they will be very technical. And that suits these type of play. He is that type of player. The problem that we've got is that we didn't recognise that. We went and paid 70 million for him. And what we should have done is our scouting process and our people that were in charge of recruitment at the time should have realised what was coming. Is that he's physically not good enough. He's not strong enough. He isn't strong enough. Now, there's a case to say that we've struggled for a left back all year, or a left wing back, or whatever you want to call them, and we never really give him an opportunity or a chance to play. If there's any qualms, that could be his only qualm. We didn't give him the chance to do that, because we all knew that Delors was struggling on the left-hand side. With no naturally left-footed players, he could play that left-hand side. So it's just how it is. But what I can't understand about these players who are making comments, these players could be coming back to play for Ruben Amorim next year, and they're just making it harder and harder for us as fans to accept him. And Rashford will probably end up, agents will be out next, won't he? But they don't realise if these things, and Sancho's another, if these things don't work out for them at the current clubs, they're coming back to Old Trafford, and they've got to live with that. So, I think it's all of a sudden he's managed to escape, hasn't he? He's escaped from the prison, which was Manchester United. It was a burden on him. Sadly for the young man, he had mental health issues as well, which didn't help him. He got the support of Ten Hag, he got the support of the club, didn't seem to make any odds. He still came back and he couldn't perform. And I think the weight of the badge, the weight of the shirt, nothing else, the weight of the shirt. Our expectation levels were up there, and when they should have been down here, his price tag didn't help, and now all of a sudden he's a world beater in Spain. What it'll be like in another month's time will tell.
Time will tell indeed. Big up to people in the chat. I can see Joe Blackman's in the chat. Yeah, Joe Blackman. This guy. Yeah, he's mad because last time on the Full View, the invite was there and he wasn't on. This time, you'd think he'd reached out. I've heard nothing all day. I've heard nothing all day from Joe Blackman. You know what I mean? I thought, he'd reach out again. Maybe he's trying to get my number off someone else. I think if Kenny were to describe it, he would probably go
poor, and I mean poor.
That's how he'd probably describe it, or maybe
disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful.
That's Joe Blackman, isn't it? You know what I mean? That's what it is. You know what I mean? So
you've called him.
Ferbs, I'll come to you next. What do you make of it all with Antony? He is doing well in La Liga. Is that a positive for United? It means we'll be more likely to sell him in the summer, or are you one of those people that says bring him back?
Look, I'm happy that he's doing well on loan. I think a lot of the fan base want to see, the decision to get rid of them and be proven right. But then at the same time, we want money for our loans as well. So it's kind of conflicting in that sense. But for me, I want all of them to do well. Obviously, it doesn't reflect good on my club because it's like, why are they all excelling? There's always talks about they're always excelling in other clubs and not in mine. But I really do feel like we've just got the recruitment just wrong, like so bad, not even like moderately bad. It's just been too far gone left. And I think we're starting to see it, and I hope that changes. And for me, I keep saying that I think we're in the beginning of that rebuild process now, because I think like how we're spending the money is going to determine like the status of where we're at in the next year, 2, 3 years, whatever. So like talking about Antony, right? When I look at like I was checking out what physicality, right? It's based on strength, speed, endurance. Antony's not the slowest. He's not the weakest. He's not the lightest. He's not the shortest. Like if you're thinking about him against Ahmad, for example, he probably outdoes Ahmad in a lot of categories in terms of physicalness, right? My thing about Antony wasn't that he wasn't physical, because for me, when I looked at him, or maybe I'm blinded by his work rate, because he was a guy that likes to get stuck in. He bombs up and down. He likes a challenge. I think it's more about his other abilities, his tactical ability. Ahmad's able to drop a shoulder, go left, go right. You look at your Sakas, they're not the biggest of guys, but they're able to maneuver out of tight spaces. They're able to like take on defenders, know how to position their bodies in a certain way. I did see Antony doing a lot of the Rasmus Hojlund type of things, trying to bend forward and try to get that little extra yard in front and then fall over. But for me, I think it's other. I think Amorim, I don't know what, I know he's after a particular profile like your Dorgies, but I think he used the wrong wording. I think he could have elaborated a bit more when he talked about, he's not physical. I think there's a lot more to it than just not being physical, to the reasons why Antony didn't like succeed at Manchester United, and why a lot of players ain't succeeded at Manchester United. And I feel like when I watch Antony play and when he's thriving is when he's got the options in front of him. He's able to like have an overlap. Someone's overlapping, so it creates another outlet for him to pass to. Then he can either cut him or just lay it off. He didn't get a lot of that at Manchester United, whether it was from Aaron Wan-Bissaka or whether it was from Delo. He didn't get those options that I feel like he needed to fully get the best out of him. And therefore, it just became too predictable because everyone knew what it was going to do. And therefore, if you're too predictable in the Premiership, they're going to figure you out really fast. You might get a season, you might get half a season. They're going to figure you out. And I think with Antony, he got figured out pretty quickly with that one-trick pony cut in and shoot. And then it just went all downhill from there. So, look, I don't think he was a right fit. I feel like he had the heart. I feel like he had the drive. I don't feel like he was too overly overwhelmed. I just feel like the Premier League just figured him out. And I just think it was his time for him to move on, because we need versatility. We need people that can go versatile. Yeah,
very true. Bradley, what do you make of Antony? Is there any possibility that he could feature in a Ruben Amorim team in the future, or is this the beginning of an exit for him now that he's doing well in La Liga?
I think it's the beginning of an exit for him. I think mainly it's to do with the wages and Ineos trying to reduce the wage bill. I think that's the main reason why he left the club, because he's not been amazing and he's not been far from being good enough. But I wouldn't have got rid of him in January. I would have got rid of him in the summer based on the lack of numbers we have in the squad, especially in attacking areas, even before the injuries. Like we got rid of Sancho, we got rid of Martial, we got rid of Rashford, we got rid of Antony, and we've not replaced any of them. And we're getting paid for that right now with Cheeto coming in, and he did all right in the FA Cup, but he shouldn't really be getting used. He's been fast-tracked way too quickly, in my opinion. And I think there'll be a lot of pressure on him, which is not needed, and it could affect him in the long run for his development. So I think it was a poor decision to get rid of him. I agree it wasn't a physical thing. I don't think he was technically good enough for the price tag and the expectation he had on his shoulders for what we was expecting.
Yeah, big up Marcel. Appreciate you joining us. As always, living on Marcel time. You know what I mean? Marcel's busy, guys, jumping from stream to stream. Straight into the fire, Marcel.
Yeah.
Anthony, what have you made of his success so far in La Liga? Is there any chance he could come back? His agents had a bit of a swipe against Ruben Amorim today, saying that the idea that he didn't succeed at Manchester United wasn't because of physicality. That's complete nonsense. What say you?
I think he wasn't brilliant at his time. Is his tenure here at the club? I think that's clear and obvious. I think even the price that we decided to pay for him to to perform at our club, I think was maybe a bit overpaid. So I don't really care, to be honest with you. I think he's one of those, when we're looking at the 25 players within the squad, he's a definite that needs to be sold. When we look at the issue, we've got $1 billion debt. We're in $1 billion in debt plus the interest. And if someone's dealing with that, which it seems like the narrative with Ineos is that what they're dealing with, there's going to be certain players that are going to look like they're surplus to requirements or they're overpaid. There's going to be certain players, if we're trying to, correct a structure, that's, in terms of payment structure, that's some of the rhetoric that's going around. He's one of those players that for his price is not worth it. It's just clear and obvious. So I would like to see the end of him. Sorry. And that's it. You get somebody else that's more suitable for the system. He's a hardworking player. I think under Ten Hag, there was a lot of shortcomings and he had a lot of predicaments as well, personal life situations as well. That means it's difficult for you to perform. But this is a cutthroat business and it's a cutthroat football club right now, going through a turbulent kind of time. We need some sort of consistent footballers that can show themselves week in, week out on the football pitch. Bare minimum. That's just the bare minimum. Bruno's just given the bare minimum so consistently. Even Maguire to a degree at times, the bare minimum. We just need to get players out there. Mount needs to go, Luke Shaw needs to go. So these are just clear and obvious things. I think I'm not cared about the semantics with the agent and all these kind of things, because we've seen it while he was here actively. Can you change the fortunes of this football club? He couldn't do it. Whether it was physical or not, I don't know. I think sometimes, did he have blistering pace like a Giggs or a Valencia or a Nani, no, or a Ronaldo or no. So it's time to go. When we look back into the past for our standard of plays out in those wide areas, he doesn't fit that. So there was a mistake in terms of, what he could have produced. Right wing back, it looked kind of interesting, but then what's his defensive acumen like? And do we need an offensive player with a high level of defensive acumen? Where right now I'm complaining about us starting 6 defenders on the football pitch or 5 defenders on the football pitch. So we need somebody maybe obsessive with the attacking side of the game, but maybe strong enough, physical enough, like a Dorgu, that can still produce some sort of solid defensive side to the game. But he's always obsessing with going forward. So maybe Antony does fit that a bit, but we've seen over the time he's been here, he's not been good enough. It's just really simple.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the same, to be honest. I mean, I think we have this sort of weird thing as United fans that whenever a player does leave, whether it be on loan or whether it be permanently, we're kind of obsessed with how well they do or don't do wherever they go next, where really the reality should be that we shouldn't really care. I mean, it is very much, it should be, I think anyway, very much out of sight, out of mind, and in the case that we do hear people on loan like Antony, like Rashford, like whoever, if they're doing well, that only benefits us because it only raises their asking price, or maybe they turn their form around because they play football so regularly that they come back to Manchester United and they do have something to offer. I don't think that's the case with Antony, but I think, maybe the whole thing about Kenny, you kind of touched on it earlier on about the stuff about his agent coming out and maybe taking those swipes against the manager. maybe that's just a case of trying to sort of make sure that that move gets pushed through in the summer kind of situation. Do you know what I mean?
You don't know.
You don't want to say some negative things. So I'm not really too fussed by it. One thing I am fussed with, though, and this was something that Flex and myself were talking about this morning, is Ruben Amorim's recent comments about trophies. Because even as bad as maybe some parts of Erik ten Hag's tenure was at Manchester United, he still won trophies in his season, Carabao Cup, FA Cup. And some people raised their eyebrows at Ruben Amorim, sort of suggesting that winning a Europa League wasn't important for Manchester United this season. What was really important was long-term growth, and the Europa League necessarily maybe wasn't a total priority. Now, he was asked about this in his press conference just a few minutes ago, and he said, quote, "There are a lot more important things than winning cups at this moment, but I understand that winning the Europa League could change everything for us this season." Kenny, I'll start with you again. Is it a bit of a chicken and egg argument to say what's more important, sort of performances, growth versus trophies? Because we are Manchester United, but we also criticise Ten Hag that even though he won trophies, it papered over the cracks. So what's the most important thing, do you think?
Well, let's start with what's important for the fans. Trophies is what's important for the fans. You know, my concern for Ruben Amorim at the moment is, I remember, I'm only going back 6-8 months, but we signed a head coach, and we were all pleased that we had a head coach who had a support mechanism behind him in Barada, Wilcox, Sir Jim, etc. And all he needed to do was to focus on his on the football on the pitch. What we've seen over the last month, that the more criticism that is laid at the Ineos door, then the more that Amorim's coming out talking things that are not directly related to football, which is about the trophies, which is about this, the impact of the FSP, all that. When you know as well as I do, currently I think our income is about 15 million from the Europa League this year. Liverpool and Arsenal have already grossed 71 million from the Champions League. Now, if we don't have Europa League next year, we're in far bigger trouble than anybody's ever even thought about. Look at these players that we've got. They'll all be on Champions League contracts. They will all be on Champions League. So their expectation levels from their agents is they still want paying. And there'll be all sorts of rumours going around that there's disenchantment within the dressing room because they're not getting paid this, they've not got these bonuses and this or the other. So going back to the Europa League, absolutely 100%, we have to win it. There is no half measures. And I'm disappointed that he's coming out saying this. I don't know of any other manager in any other competition, even if you're in the third division and you're going for the FA Cup, you have a dream or an aspiration that you want to win something. Your fans expect you. Your fans don't travel. There's fans going to Real Sociedad tomorrow night, paying hard-earned money. They've travelled all over Europe this year to follow them, to win the Europa League so that we can get to the Champions League. So once again, we can start to get the income in where we can get the players, generates more hits on social media. The sponsors are happy. There's no issues around FFP, or there's less issues around it, but you're virtually guaranteed £100 million with the Champions League. Last week, we walked out of Old Trafford. We got kicked out the bloody FA Cup. We lost to Fulham on penalties, and it's almost okay. We're having a bad season. We're 15th. We're 15th. We really are a mediocre football team. So for him to come out, and I love Amorim, I like his honesty, but sometimes he's been a little bit too honest. Keep them, if you want to keep the fans on your side, then you've got to raise my aspirations for this team. I see with my own eyes, you see with your own eyes. This is the worst football team to wear that jersey for a long time, right? I don't want you as a manager to confirm that. I know it. I see it. What I want you to do, because you're getting paid about £5 or £6 million a year, is to change it and to make sure that when they go out against Real Sociedad tomorrow night, that they want to win that game. We're almost accepting defeat. It's just wrong. And what we should be seeing as well, when we're seeing these press conferences, Barrera should be sat at the side of him. Sir Jim should be sat at the side of him. Wilcox should be sat at the side and fielding the questions of the fans that want to know about FFP, about what are our ambitions. They've come out today. We see that, we're going to be we're budgeting. This is Manchester United, by the way. We are budgeting for Europa League for the next 3 or 4 years. Wow. Now, we know we're a long way off being Champions League, but you don't come out and tell your fans that you're going to be screwing in a month's time, asking them to pay £66 a ticket. You just don't do it because you will get the protest, because the aspirations of fans is that when we begin the season, we don't want to be thinking that they're defeated. It's almost as if there's an acceptance within the board, within the coaching staff, that we're a mid-table team. We can see we're a mid-table team, but these people are in charge to make it that we are great. I'm going to put the Manchester back in Manchester United. That was what Sir Jim said. Them were his words. We're far from that. Far from that.
Yeah, far from it indeed. Super chat from Robert Dino says, dropped in to donate. Your cheeks! Big up. Now, his Man City fan has come in and said it, you know what I mean? But to be fair, they've got to get them in until they're, out of existence or conference or something like that next year. So got to get them in while they can, you know what I mean? Where did the money come from, actually, for that super chat? That's interesting. Firms, I'll go to you. What do you make of Amorim's comments there? What's more important to you? Are you thinking that it's just about trophies with Manchester United, or can you see what Amorim's trying to say when he's saying, well, actually, it's about long-term growth and building something that's more sustainable than just being a cup side?
I ain't trying to upset the OG Kenny. I agree with him in a lot of parts. Don't get me wrong. I feel like Amorim would prefer both. I feel like Amorim would love to win Europa League. I don't think he necessarily wanted to dismiss it if you were to further question him. I just feel like I've been in a situation as a Manchester United fan that this season has rocked me in terms of whenever we think the season can't get worse, it gets worse. Yeah, we might pick up a trophy here and there, but we're sitting in 15th, currently 14th. We're having conversations about relegation and staying up. It is mind-boggling to me. And this shouldn't be. I don't want us to be a team that could potentially win FA Cup one day, but then get relegated, because I think the relegation will do far more damage, losing Adidas sponsorships of 90 million a year, whatever it is, than not, qualifying for Champions League for X number of years. And I feel like we can build the consistency of how we play ball, build a consistency of, just performance, like players choosing to turn up one week, not choosing to turn up another week. That's going to affect everything. That's going to affect your ability to win on the title. Look, we went into that Man City FA Cup final, last year thinking our hopes are smashed. We go into games against Liverpool thinking our hopes are smashed, and then they might surprise us. But I don't want to be in that space of like it's all doom and gloom. Oh wow, like you surprised me. I can't believe it. This is great. I want to be in a position where Liverpool sit at, City sitting at, Arsenal sitting at thinking, I've won this game before we've left the tunnel. I've won this game. I know what to expect. And that's where I want us to be. And I think where Amorim has made those comments, I feel like he's saying, do you know what, right? 1 minute we can make Champions League, the next year we're out of it. 1 minute we can make Europa League, the next year we're out of it. I think he's trying to say, do you know what? We need to be a consistent team so we can what is Manchester United in terms of what is our baseline? Do you know what I mean? Like 1 minute, we're saying this year we're a mid-table team. Next year, what's the discussion going to be? Because we were 15th. What's the discussion going to be 3 years from now? We don't even know what we are. Like, how do we rank? We don't know what we are. Year on year, things change. We're the worst, best team out there because we're a team that can sit 15th or 14th, but potentially still go and win Europa. And I don't see many teams being able to win trophies like this, like that, like Man United. We're a very confusing team, really confusing. And I hear what Amorim's saying because we've been here. Look, Mourinho. Remember Mourinho, Europa League? It was a must-win. We had to make Champions League in order to get Pogba. Like, we pin a lot of our hopes on winning something for a financial gain or to attract good players or whatever it is, but it's short-lived. And I think what I want is just a consistent longevity of Manchester United being back again. So that's my viewpoint in it. So,
but how do you get back to that level if you don't have the income in to buy the players or to attract the players. So you've got to win the league. You've got to win the Europa League.
100%. And I think it comes back to the chicken and egg thing, right? Because it's like, you need to, with every position that you finish in the league, it attracts more money, right? Being in Champions League consistently brings in more money, just like it will be with Europa League. So winning it is one thing, but we may not be in Europa League 2 years from now. We may not be in the Champions League 2 years from now. And we need to be in a position where we can be in those competitions regularly enough to be winning it regularly enough. Right now, it's too at the hit and miss. I want us to be doing what you're saying, Kenny. I want us to be being able to win Champions Leagues, winning Europa League if we're in it, win Premier Leagues. But we need to be in a position to do that. Right now, we're nowhere near Premier League. We're sitting in 15th. We've got so much ahead of us that we need to, in terms of closing the gap before we can do these things. Like, I'm worried about playing Real Sociedad. Like, I'm worried. Do you understand? Ask me this question. Ask me this 7, 8, 9 years ago, whatever it is. I'm like, we got it off lightly. Now we're worried. Do you understand? We shouldn't be worried, you know. And this is where we need to. So it is a chicken and egg question, because we really do need to win trophies. I don't want to dismiss it, but we need to get to that baseline. Like, Arsenal's at a very strong baseline. I reckon they could have won something by now if they would have prioritized these cup tournaments, which sometimes I feel like they don't always prioritize it. Man United went full strong team, you know, week in, week out for the cup competitions, and hence, you know, it paid dividends. And I feel some teams probably don't pay it that much respect because they're chasing the league or whatever it is. Fair dues. But I just feel like Manchester United have got a lot of work to do from a performance perspective. We can't shy away from that. We're paving over a lot of the cracks as well. We need to balance it. We need a balance of both.
Yeah, definitely. Marcel, to you, I mean, you're the eternal optimist, and you talk about the process, and you talk about, you know, long-term vision. Can you see what Ruben's saying there when he's saying, well, you know, could win a Europa League, but it's about building something for the future? Kind of what Firms is saying, you need to be consistently in the Champions League and not just a one-off. Or can you see what Kenny was saying when he's saying, well, you have to lay that foundation by winning something because you need finances to do it? Like, what do you think?
So, it's like, I don't even know how to articulate that. We, under Ten Hag, we done that approach and you all slewed us for it. So let's not do that now. Can we please live below our means? So the answer for that, Kenny, is how do we get there? We have to live below our means until the ability and the power of our means increase. So we have to just be in the Premier League and just play whatever, how many games it is, and build that 3-4-3 structure, because that's who we are, by the way, Firms. We definitively, as of today, are a 3-4-3 team, ultra versatile footballing team with a lot of, for it to operate in the way that it needs to, it's individual brilliance, but with a lot of more attacking players on the pitch. Just have the 3 defenders, your 2 workhorse midfielders, and you need those wing backs to think more attack, to push the opposition's back 4, pin them in their half. But until you get the profiles doing that, you need players that kind of have those profiles. So you're living within your means. You can't get the 70, 80, 90, 150 mil players. You need to get the 20, 30 ones that have degrees of the profiles that you need in a position. But you need to live below those means. And I don't think you can be in Europa League because we don't have enough time to train these footballers to understand that the ones that we do have now, they're just not getting it. So you need maybe time to train them more, and then the weak ones will die and you swap them out. That's the only avenue. I think we've seen the must-win trophy avenue before, and it doesn't work. We've seen it. That doesn't work. We need to have the process of sticking with a manager and consistently investing in him, and until he improves the quality of what is available in the 25-man squad. That's
Marcel, I'm not disputing anything he's saying about sticking with the manager, right? Please remember, we're Manchester United. We don't sit 15th. We shouldn't be in the Europa League. We're the 3rd largest grossing football club in the world on income, 600 million. We have the largest fan base. We're one of the top brands in the world. We do not accept, we should never accept being 14th or 15th, right? What Amorim's got to do, right? And this is what's coming. Right? There are people like you and I who have patience, right? But the truth is this: right? The people at the very top, the people that have appointed him will not have the patience when they start getting the messages from the sponsors that they're not happy because we're not in Europe. You are not selling the merchandise. You are not claiming the money from the TV rights. There is only one loser. And that's not the Marcus Rashfords is on £250,000 a week. That's not the Antonys or whatever, or the Casemiros that we're all berating.
It's us.
No, it's not. It's Ruben Amorim, because he will pay with his job. He will pay
No,
with his
because
job.
we've been accepting it for 12 years. We've been accepting this narrative of we're Manchester United.
Yeah,
We should
and
be
what's
first,
happened?
first. We've been
happened?
thinking that, but the reality is football heritage. What Mourinho's been telling you. So the reality for the 12 years actually is that you're not that Man United that you've been saying that you are. You're actually 15th Man United for the last 12 years. That's really what you've been.
No, you're not. You're still
the
third.
Because you haven't been winning the Champions League and Premier League for the last
absolutely.
You haven't been winning
you're
it.
Still the third largest grossing income, right, of football clubs in the world.
Not really if you're overdrafting $1 billion. Not really. If you're in overdraft of $1 billion.
I'm on about grossing income. How it's spent,
but
is
not really
down
if
to
you're
us.
One day you got to pay the piper, Kenny. One day. So not really if you're an overdraft of $1 billion.
No, the overdraft. The overdraft doesn't belong to you and me. The overdraft was done by the Glazers, lad, not us.
And they hold us, and they're holding us by hodges. So it's on you. Do you get it? It is on you. That's why your prices are going up on the ticket. That's why certain predicaments are being.
So have I not? So I have to accept.
This is the reality.
If you want to charge me £66 to go and watch that crap, right? If you want to charge me, so you're saying I should accept that? I should say, right, look, we're having a bad run. We're not going to win trophies. Let's all support Ruben. Here, Mr. Glazer. Here's another 66
point the gun
for the
and
crap.
point the gun of acceptance and non-acceptance towards the Glazers. But the manager who's trying to manage the poor, downward spiral of this, what? No,
but he will pay.
Pointing that energy,
Marcel. I'm not pointing it at it. The fans will. You will. I will eventually.
Not me. I've always been with the manager.
Absolutely. We always was with Ten Hag. We all walked out of Wembley last year. How can they sack Ten Hag? It's been fantastic. We just beat City. It was euphoric. It was euphoric. And Ineos read the room right on that day. They read the room right. Because if they'd have sacked Ten Hag the day after the cup final, there'd have been uproar. There would have been uproar. We said he deserves another 12 months. Now, 6 months into that, we all said he should have been sacked after the cup final, because that's what football fans do. We're all great with hindsight. We can all manage with hindsight. We accept that. But as going back to what you're saying about, there's only one person will pay.
That guy for me. I was saying from the very beginning that he needed to stay. I'm actually an anomaly to everything you just said. It's actually that crazy.
Definitely, Marcel.
Yeah.
I mean, is this
I've been saying keep him for the third season.
Is this what you're trying to say, Marcel, as well? Because I think this super chat does agree with you and goes against what Kenny was saying, which is basically, sorry, that's what we were. As of today, we can't hold that high regard of saying we are Man United. We can't be in 15th, etc. That's not us right now. So, Kenny, you're sort of saying, well, we shouldn't accept that. And Marcel, you're saying, I suppose, that I'm not necessarily accepting that, but I'm being real as to that's where we are. We have to acknowledge where we are.
And the route to go back up is like suffer.co.uk, and you have to accept that. You really do.
How long do we suffer?
You really do. And then you have to live within the means and get certain types of players and then look at him and say, oh no, he's not good enough with the bunch in the mix, and then take him out. And it's a slow build back. We can't do the quick fix because every day or every season we have that $1 billion over your head that affects. It sucks from the money. It's just you. So you have to take it Woosa and slowly build and have the patience of an angel, of a saint. It's a golden virtue. And it takes time. It takes time. I'm telling you. No, I do get it, because Ten Hag got you the trophies and you still weren't happy. No,
wrong there. I've always been happy with the trophies because that's what I expect as a Man United. You forget, I can take you back 50, 60 years when I was stood on the terraces when we was in the second division. But when we came up the year after, we won the FA Cup. So that's the expectation was, because we watched entertaining football. We got relegated, we came back up, we finished second, and we won the FA Cup. Liverpool were absolutely 100% the best team. They were fantastic in that era. Absolutely fantastic. They were untouchable. Bet 10 times better than this Liverpool team. But what I'm saying is, as my expectation as a United fan, right, was to pay my money, watch entertaining football, and I was happy that we were a cup team because I accepted we couldn't win the league because Liverpool were that good. But to keep me happy and to build the fan base back up and to keep everyone happy, we were known as a cup team. And that was fine. That was fine.
So should we have kept Ten Hag and been happy that we were a cup team? He would have, right now in the Europa League, would have gone strongest team. Right now in the FA Cup, would have gone strongest team. But then at some point, you would want that debt to get cleared. And at some point,
I've nothing. Listen.
Amorim's not going to clear the debt, is he? Let's be honest.
No, exactly. That's not his issue. But what we can't go beyond, you can't go beyond the fact that since it's come in, we've got worse. You can't hide behind that. Nobody can hide behind that.
Every manager, that's the predicament for every manager that comes in since your last ever years, my friend. It's been like that. So, I'm not lying about it. That's
absolutely. Arne Slot's doing a terrible job since he's coming at Liverpool.
Arne Slot's not Manchester United Football Club. So Slot, it doesn't matter. He's not Manchester United Football Club though, Kenny. Manchester United Football Club has $1 billion debt on their head, and people that have and Slot has a structure. And by the way, he's done what I'm trying to say that we need to do. That 9 year, he had somebody behind him that's just completed the 9 year process of the first 2 years sufferation, not enough money, build, swap one in, swap one out, build, and they didn't get that much trophies from it. They only got one. They only got like 2 or 3, and they got 2 champions. There's 2 Premier Leagues and a Champions League. But their process was the first 2 years mess. And okay, Owen, you're saying it's a lot. Whatever.
Yeah, we Premier League and 2 Champions League.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But if you really understand what I'm saying, when you look at Pep's version, because it is a good example, but try and hold on to the thought of they kept the manager in, and there was sufferation at the beginning. And there was difficult circumstances that they had to build from. And that's the same thing here, but you just want to swap the manager every 2 minutes without letting him build it.
We don't, but we're going backwards. Teta didn't go backwards.
We said that. We said that under all the managers here.
We could see something happening. The problem we've got, we can't see anything happening. And it's not, I'm not blaming Amorim. I'm blaming everything around him, the Ineos, this. Well, we've had 3 transfer windows. We've probably spent about £3.80 in the last 3 transfer windows. We've not spent anything with regards to the January. We're bringing players in that shouldn't even be wearing the badge, let alone anything else. They're just not good enough. So I honestly don't see how we get from 14th to 6th, let alone Champions League. Well, you start with what Ruben's kind of saying, which is mad that it's mad that he's saying it, but I can feel it to a degree. There's more time on the training pitch. Should he be saying it?
Yeah,
should he be calling it the players?
Because the Glazers have given us this world, and that's the major issue. With the energy, we should be protest every week, Kenny, but there's not. So it's like, okay, I can feel that the only other avenue is more time to get to ingrain 3-4-3 into the humans, ingrain it to their DNA, so that you can produce more players that can do it. It's just really simple. The ones that there's so many players here that can't do it, and you have to live within your means and get ones that kind of can do it. Dorgu's, they've done a good business. Ineos have done good business for Ruben so far. They've got one player called Dorgu who really looks like a good fit. He looks like a brilliant fit for the team. Now let's see them do a couple more now. Even the summer window before Ruben comes in, we all like, okay, this kind of is a decent window. The price point of the players is decent. They're slowly starting to live within the means, but through that process, they suffer. When you change a style of football from counter-attack to attack, they suffer. That's what you had under Ten Hag, and then you had the injury predicament as well. There's going to be suffering. It's like we just don't. It's like but then we'll still get told we're first and we're Champions League winning Man United. We're not. You saw under the last 12 years that we're not.
Basila with the super chat. Let me just get the super chat out of the way. Says, do you all see any long-term growth? Long-term growth comes with winning, and that includes winning trophies. Trophies and growth are intertwined. Bradley, what are you looking for? You're at Old Trafford every single week. Are you looking for trophies, or are you looking for something more sustainable? Can a trophy paper over the cracks?
Personally, I think his comments are total BS, if I'm being completely honest. And I do like Ruben Amorim, but the reality is that if you look at Ineos at Nice, no manager has lasted over a season. So who's to say that Ruben Amorim, if he doesn't win the Europa League, won't get sacked? So for me, the only way he keeps his job with the hierarchy he's got above him is by winning the Europa League. For me, I wouldn't be surprised next season if we don't win the Europa League. Amorim gets sacked, and we've got Marcus Rashford playing left wing in a 4-2-3-1. Don't be surprised by that. I think, yes, he's right about the growth in terms of being getting back up there long-term wise, but I think it's a domino effect. I think you have to win the Europa League to be able to get next season, even forget about the money side of things, to just get next season, and even with a pre-season building up the style of the play on the training ground, I think the Europa League is massively important, to be honest.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. I mean, we were talking about it this morning, I kind of looked at it in the same way that, some people have been saying, oh, you got to move to a back four, you got to adapt, you got to change this. Look at Arne Slot, he's done really well at Liverpool because he does adapt and he changes in the game and they can play many different ways. I looked at it more like it's him almost saying it like, well, I could maybe give ourselves a better chance of winning the Europa League if I adapted to these players. But just like with my formation, I'm not going to do it. I mean, he was asked about his formation again today, and he said, I think the system is not the problem, it is the way of playing. We have a lot of problems and we're trying to work on the problems. Every system needs different characteristics. I'm still really confident. I will not change that. So, Phobes, is this just a case again of basically there could be ways of adapting, there could be ways of changing things which would make us more likely to win the Europa League, but that kind of change would actually maybe hinder us in the long term?
100. Look, I agree with that. Look, we all knew what Amorim was about. We saw him at Sporting. For those that were watching him at Braga, knew that he played free at the back, and there's probably a handful of games in his career that we know about that he's probably played for at the back, unless he's trying to go for a game, or there's changes in game maybe that he's done that. But outside of that, his base formation has been a free. We knew this. Just like we knew what Erik ten Hag's situation was when he came. Like, we knew that he's a attacking overload type of guy, and we learned that very quickly. But what we tend to do at Manchester United is we bring in a manager that's very specialist in what they do. They've probably got a plan A and maybe not a plan B so much. And then we want different things out of that. Instead of just going for a generalist manager that can work with the players that we've got, we go for a manager that's set in their ways. And then we want to change them. And it's just like, what are we trying to do here? Why don't we just go for the right person in the get-go? And what Amorim has said, right, is if, okay, say we changed the formation, we started winning games, we finished in Europa League or Champions League. Tell me realistically, what fan is now going to be content with Amorim going back to free at the back? If he got to Champions League or got to Europa League somehow, playing four at the back now, if he changed it just to salvage the season, it's going to be pressure. It just sets the precedence for pressure throughout the rest of his career, because he's identified himself as a free at the back formation, free centre back. To now change that, maybe get some success, you ain't going to be able to go back to that formation easily. No matter what, the first draw, the first loss, people's going to be like, go back, and it's going to be an issue. He's going through that now in terms of people telling him to change, but at least he's following what he believes in. It's his system, it's his philosophy. He's going to die on his sword, down his sword. The worst thing you want is a manager coming in, right, changing things and then having no fundamentals to fall back on, and then he's left in limbo in his head, even though he's getting games won. Like, I had that feeling maybe with Ruud van Nistelrooy. I feel like he came in, the vibes lifted, he was getting wins, but then I thought to myself, if that stops, can he tactically get us out of this hole? And I don't know. And he's doing his thing over at Leicester. It is what it is. So for me, I want any manager that's coming in to stick to their grounds. For me, it's all about the recruitment. You need to recruit the right players for what you feel. What's our 5-year plan? What's our 10-year plan? You need to go with that and stick with it. We can't now be recruiting these specialists and then wanting us to change things. It just doesn't. It just reflects badly on Ineos or the Glazers to me, as opposed to the manager. Look, Erik did his thing. Yeah. Amorim did his thing.
No, see what The problem we've got is simple, right? This guy came in, it was 3-4-3, and we all could sign up to that. Not a problem, right? The problem you've got, we're playing 5 defenders. We are playing 5 defenders. So what happens is when we're trying to break, we've got Dalot, who is having this horrendous season. It's not his fault he's over on the left-hand side. So he cannot play the system he wants to play. Now, somebody's going to turn around and jump in there, but we'll be recruiting this, we'll be recruiting that. You won't be recruiting this and you won't be recruiting that, simply because we can't afford to recruit to the levels that we want. So we should be looking at, players of a standard that is Champions League standard. That's what you should be looking at, because that's what we would normally be looking at. We can't afford it. Because we can't bring them in on the contracts to pay them Champions League money. So what are we going to be doing? We're going to be going out and about. Hopefully, we can get an attacking left back or an attacking right winger or an attacking right back or whatever. We're playing 5 at the back. So his football is not attractive. It is just not attractive, and it's not going down well with a lot of fans. So. I get it that that's what he wants. We brought him in to play 3-4-3. Sir Jim himself said the style of football at Manchester United is just not good enough. So we now have to look. But it's no good saying that if you're not going to give the guy the money. You're then turning round 6 months into your tenure. You don't even come and address the fans anymore. All the fans are seeing that's coming from the club is negativity. Because if we're not making redundancies, we're taking money off charities. If we're not taking money out of players' mouths or people's staff's mouths, what work there, we're doing something else with more redundancies coming. So when Sir Jim comes in with an Ineos and they're going to promise this and we're going to have a new style of this, it ain't happening. It ain't happening. And it ain't going to change. Sadly, it ain't going to change because Ruben Amorim has been dealt a hand that he just can't. He's got to work with it. He's got to work with it. And I accept that, if we can recruit this and recruit that, we ain't got the money. I said 2 months ago, we will not buy another £70 million pound player. We're more likely to buy 10 £7 million pound players, and hopefully that one works. And I think that's going to be the case. Sadly.
Marcel, do you think Ruben can play attractive football with that system? Is it just a case of the players can't do it just yet?
It's the same thing for Eric Ten Hag. This style of football is very attractive. It's so beautiful. It is, oh my God. But you have to have the right players playing it. Why are you love? I don't get it, guys. I'm not finding this funny.
It's just you
I love this style of football. This style of football, when it works at its best, has got 5 players in the opposition half, pinning back their last line.
It'll be clipped up. You said, I don't like this style of football because he's playing with 5 defenders. That's what you said when you came on.
That is very true.
Right?
That is very true.
Thank you very much.
It's not the style of play. That's the problem.
Hold on. So hold on. Please let me add to that then, Bradley, directly. So you're right. That's the bravery on the manager now. The manager has someone like Amas. The manager has other players. It's the player profiles and characteristics, like Owen just mentioned before, that he's saying to you is an issue. The characteristic of Dalot is that he can't go down left and right, and he can't do 1v1. So he's not being brave enough as a manager. Now send the young kid in because there's nobody else left to select, or Ruben. But his style of football, 3-4-3, is sexy. It works. Telling you it works. But
he did say, Marcel, the reason why he's not putting the youngsters in, because he was asked about that as well today, and he said, I'm trying to manage everything. It's a big step for them. I'm trying to think about every aspect. I'm not thinking about what it will look like with their friends and the media. So is that him saying that some of them aren't ready to be put in to play this sexy football?
Yes, but when you're in this situation where when you look around, there's players that can't play the system. There's players for years that are rubbish. Everywhere's rubbish. This is the last straw now. There's no more hope. So you have to play Chide, and you have to play Chide and see him miss 3 chances. And don't blame him, but we could have beat Fulham, guys. He had 3. He could have got Hattie. He could have got a hat trick. But the reality is, because of the predicament you're in, you can't kill him, but you have to think to yourself, okay, we try him, get rid of Hojlund and prepare him for next season though. But you must play him. You have
It's
to.
the mindset.
It's the same with Amas. It's the same with Sekou Kone. You have to, because the other options are not doing it within the system. And we can see their characteristics, their style of football is not good enough. But this formation, my gosh, Kenny, is sexy when it works. So you
when
have
it
to
works.
The mindset at the minute.
it's about bringing the characteristics. It's about shopping in Nettos and not
Sexy
Waitrose.
football.
It's about shopping in Nettos right now and not in Waitrose because you don't have the money. But get the
Marcel.
best thing in Nettos.
Marcel, I think the problem we have, and Ruben's got, is that it's the mindset. So when he came in, I think when he did his first interview with Gary Neville, he said he was going to play defenders at wing back. And I understood the thought process of that to be able to be solid, to build a solid foundations to build on. But the problem is even with that, we're conceding more goals than we're scoring. So for me, I think we'd been better off, especially inside the stadium. I think a big problem is why it's so toxic inside the stadium is that the fans are finding the games really boring. I hear what you're saying about the 3-4-3, but the actual fans inside the stadium going week in and week out, they're finding it really, really boring to watch. And I don't think it helps. I think if he came in, and even if the results stayed the same, but we played Antony and Ahmad at wing back, but we were losing 4-3 and we were winning 4-3, I think it'd be less toxic because we'd be more excited to go to the game. So I think the mindset of the manager in the short term, I think the long term would be okay. But that's why I'm saying he needs to win the Europa League to get to the long-term mindset, because I'm excited by the Dorgu signing and we've been linked with Kenda. So that tells me that he will go to wingers at wing back. But I think the problem he did have is we're going with defenders, and I think it could cost him his job in the summer because I don't trust Ineos at all.
You haven't said anything wrong. I agree with that fully. It's like, but there's you just have to trust that he's going to make those correct decisions in those correct time. Everything else that we're hearing now, except for what you've just said, is just white noise and nonsense, because so many other things are distracting from those realities. He has to be more brave is what you're essentially saying. But I also disagree with you in the sense of the avenue, like, it's still, because he needs to train these rubbish players. So he needs time to do that, Bradley. So I don't think Europa League really should be projected as this big, important thing.
It's not him, it's Ineos. It's Ineos. I'm only going based on what I've known of how they've worked at Nice. They're very quick to make a change. I genuinely believe that they could sack him this summer if he doesn't win the Europa League, and it'd be a terrible decision. I'm fully backing Amorim. I think Amorim will be fantastic for us if we give him the time to succeed. But I don't trust Ineos at all. It's a purely an Ineos point of view as to why I'm saying he had to be more brave, and it's come back to bite him, it could come back to bite him. It might not. It might not win the Europa League and he might stay and we'll be fine. Or we might win the Europa League and be fine, but it could.
Well, what a fine, by the way. Fine, I don't like that. The fine is define fine, because fine right now of the last 10 years has been 15th place. Like, really understand it. So you won't be fine. You'll be still suffering.
When have we ever been 15th?
We finished second twice. We finished third.
Marcel, when have we ever been 15th?
We finished fifth.
When have we ever been 15th?
We've never been 15.
Bradley, under counter-attacking football, on a style of football. Again, maybe my philosophy is different from yours. You want to see the position without the style of football, because I still want to see Manchester United in opposition half. Yeah, but there's different styles of the winning, and that's been an issue for us as well. We've been winning and in positions on counter-attacking energy.
Do you know what it is? I think we had Ten Hag, who was totally about winning and didn't really care about the football we're playing, and then we've got Ruben Amorim, who totally bothered about his style of play and not really about winning. Why can we not have that balance in the middle? That's what I think we should be looking at.
I think you need to give someone time to create that balance.
But he's got to earn that time. He's talked about it. He's not stupid. He's talked about it. He said even when he talked about the Wayne Rooney comment, he said as a club the goal is to win the Premier League, but it might not be with me. He knows damn well that he could get sacked, and for me it'd be the wrong decision. But I just don't trust Ineos.
I never think that as well. The reason why so Owen talked about a financial like a financial, I want to say veto. For essentially, it's almost like a financial veto that he has. So he knows it's a wild card, a financial wild card almost, because Ineos that also know about this financial predicament are kind of their financial hands are tied up behind their back. So that's why I don't think they will sack him. Owen might be able to like.
Yeah,
like,
well, I think just
you get it?
financially. Yeah, I think financially, you know, when it would be once again a bad look when at a time that they're cutting so many jobs and they're cutting back on, you know, stewards' bonuses or whatever. If they sacked another manager and another coaching staff,
You could say
had
the
to
same thing
pay
about
for
Dan
that,
Ashworth.
and that is very, very true. But that was almost the second mistake, wasn't it? You know what I mean? It would be interesting to see.
Who's to say they won't do the same?
Could they afford to do it again? Basically, is my kind of thing. Particularly, you know, if he hasn't had a summer transfer window, I think I agree with Marcel. I don't think that would happen. But you never know. Lots of things have happened over the last 12 months that I didn't think was going to happen either. So there you go. Be sure to smash the like on the like button, guys. Let's get to 200 likes on the way out. Be sure to subscribe as well. Bottom right-hand corner. Champions League games are just about to start. Oh, Champions League. Remember that, folks? Oh, we used to be in that. We used to be in that competition. Maybe we will. Not next season. Maybe the season after that. Maybe something like that.
We'll beat Real.
day.
We'll win tomorrow night. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Count
just
us
very
down
quickly,
tomorrow.
actually. Just very quickly, we'll go around the room. What are our predictions tomorrow? Bradley, I'll start with you.
1-1.
1-1. Kenny?
2-1 United.
2-1 United. Firms?
That's a tough one, you know. I'm going to say 1-1.
1-1. And you, Marcel?
3-1 United.
3-1 United, nice and positive. I'm sticking with a 1-1. I think 1-1, and we take it back to Old Trafford. And because we're so good at home, we'll definitely win. That's what will happen. Yeah, well, that's another time for another time. Anyway, guys, big up to the panel, big up to Bradley, big up to Kenny, big up to Marcel, big up to Firms. We'll be back same time next week, 7 p.m. Don't miss it. We're out of here. Peace.